Welcome back to Haunted America, where we explore the darkest corners, the chilling legends, and the real-life hauntings hiding in plain sight across the United States. I'm your host, and tonight, we're headed into one of the most haunted buildings in the entire country. A place overflowing with history, pain, and restless spirits. This is the story of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, a 242,000 square foot giant of stone and shadow sitting quietly in Weston, West Virginia. But inside, nothing is quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Haunted America. Really quick, I have to explain why there wasn't an episode last Thursday. I just got over being super freaking sick. I don't know how you guys are all feeling out there, but down here where I'm at, everybody has been getting sick. Like hardcore flu. I don't know what's been going around, but it destroyed me. I mean, I was coughing. I couldn't sleep. The stuff that came up out of my mouth and nose should be studied by a doctor. It was bad. I was having hot flashes, cold flashes. I mean, I had the works. It was terrible. My voice, I feel like, is at the point where I can record as I'm still coughing and stuff here. Hopefully, anyways, it doesn't impact this episode. Just wanted to get that out there. In order to make up for not having an episode last Thursday, as of the time that this episode releases, Tuesday. So today is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 days. There will be a short episode posted, and that episode will actually be a story that was sent in to us by a listener named Megan. So we are going to do that to make up for not having an episode last Thursday. Without further ado, though, now that I'm done with my little rant, let's get into what everybody is here for. And if you're just listening to this episode and you don't know, you're not a regular listener, you probably skipped over that. I apologize. All right, let's get right into the story, guys. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, often shortened to TALA, began construction in 1858. It was designed by architect Richard Andrews, and it was intended to follow the Kirkbride Plan, a building philosophy that believed light, privacy, and fresh air could heal mental illness. Its hallways were designed like wings of a bird, spread wide to separate patients and reduce overstimulation. At least, that was the original plan. But by the 1880s, the asylum was meant to hold 250 patients, and instead it held over 2,400. Ridiculous. Imagine that for a moment. All right, thousands of people crammed into rooms, hallways, and sometimes even closets. Patients were sleeping on the floor, some were violent, and some were simply just different than the other patients there. And some weren't mentally ill at all, just inconvenient to their families. So their families sent them on their way to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Crazy to think about. The building became a place of suffering, abandonment, neglect, overcrowding, and in some cases, outright abuse. Electroshock, lobotomies, ice baths, isolation cells. Places with that much pain, they never go quiet. Ghost hunters and visitors often describe Tala as feeling alive, like the building itself is watching you, and in many ways, it does. There are several hotspots in the asylum, each associated with very real experiences. Let's start with one of the most unsettling. During the Civil War, the partially built asylum was used as a Union base. Gunfire echoed through unfinished hallways. Men died on the grounds long before the first patient ever arrived. Visitors in this wing report full-bodied apparitions in Union uniforms, footsteps pacing with heavy military boots, loud bangs that sound like musket fire, cold spots so extreme that they turn their breath to fog. One investigator from 2013 described hearing men whispering orders behind me, but there was no one there. Alright, before we dive back into tonight's haunted tale, I've got to tell you something that actually keeps me going through all these late night investigations, and that's Dubby energy. Look, when you're up at 2 a.m. reviewing EVP recordings or scrolling through ghost footage, the last thing you need is a sugar crash or shaky hands. Dubby gives you clean, focused energy. No jitters, no crash, and definitely no creepy side effects. It's packed with natural caffeine, vitamins, and nootropics. Everything you need to stay alert when the shadows start to move. And if you want to try it yourself, here's a little treat. Or maybe a trick. Head to dubby.gg. Use the code HAUNT10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. That's HAUNT10 to get 10% off and keep your energy level higher than your EMF readings. Dubby Energy. Fuel your focus and maybe your next ghost hunt. The 4th floor is notorious. Lights flicker, shadows move where shadows shouldn't. The most common sighting is a tall, pitch black figure. No eyes, no features, just a humanoid mass of darkness. Security officers say they have seen him peer around corners. Ghost hunters have caught him crossing hallways. And visitors, well, they report the same thing. It followed me. Many believe he is not a former patient at all, but something much older, something drawn to trauma like a moth drawn to a flame. The next one we're going to talk about is Lily's room. Possible child lost in time? You guys tell me. Now we're going to move to a haunting that is much gentler, but still deeply tragic. Lily. According to staff lore, Lily was born inside the asylum in the late 1800s to a patient who later died. Lily was raised inside the institution until she passed away at the age of 9. She never left. Today, Lily's room is filled with toys, balls, teddy bears, dolls, left by investigators and tourists. These items move on their own. Lights flicker, and if you leave a ball on the floor, Lily is known to roll it back to you. EVPs captured in her room have included the little girl humming, the sound of childlike giggling, and a soft voice whispering, "Play with me." One investigator recorded a small voice responding, "Thank you," after they left a piece of candy on the table. The asylum's treatment rooms hold heavy energy. This is where ice baths were given, where patients were strapped down, where early and often unethical procedures took place. One area is home to the infamous cage rooms, metal barred cells where violent or unruly patients were confined. Visitors here report hearing metal bars rattling, screams echoing through the empty corridors, and disembodied crying. One paranormal team from 2017 reported that every device they brought malfunctioned near the old shock therapy room. Batteries drained almost instantly. Now let's move on to Ward 2, the violent patient wing. These are the people that more than likely actually belonged in this place. In this wing lived some of the most dangerous residents. This is where a man named William was murdered. His 2 roommates crushed his skull with a metal bed frame. I'm going to repeat that. His 2 roommates crushed his skull with the metal bed frame. freaking insane. Oh my God. Today, his spirit is said to roam the hallway, angry and confused. I would be too. People have reported being shoved, hearing growling, and seeing a figure dart into rooms, quickly only to vanish. During a nighttime tour, one woman claimed a hand grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave marks. She turned, and there was no one there. Here are a few of the most documented experiences that visitors, staff, and ghost hunters have shared. The screaming woman. In the woman's ward, several people have heard a woman scream, loud, sharp, and panicked. But when searched, the ward is empty. One tour guide described it as a scream that sounds like someone being dragged into the dark. Okay, so kind of like every creepy movie being dragged down the hallway type thing, I guess. Another one, footsteps on the third floor. Many groups report footsteps pacing back and forth along the entire third floor. One paranormal team followed these footsteps for hours, never finding their source. When they reviewed the audio, they captured a voice saying, "Stop following me." Intelligent spirits here still, huh? And then let's move on to the man with the cane. A spirit believed to be a former doctor roams the hallways, tapping a cane. Reports include the rhythmic sound tap, tap, tap. Sometimes it grows louder as if the figure is approaching, but no one ever comes into view. So why is the asylum so haunted? The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum stands as a monument to suffering. Over a century of trauma, hundreds of deaths, some natural, but many not. Thousands of stories. When you combine violence, mental illness, fear, confusion, and neglect, you create an emotional residue strong enough to stain the walls forever. That's why people say the asylum feels alive, because so many lives ended inside of it. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying the energy of this place. Every hallway tells a story. Every room holds a memory. And somewhere in the dark, something is always watching. And that brings us to the end of tonight's journey into one of America's most haunted locations. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is a place frozen in time, echoing with laughter, screams, footsteps, and whispers from a world long gone. If you ever visit, keep your flashlight ready, keep your recorder running, and never, ever go alone. Thank you for listening to Haunted America. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, rate, and share the show. And join me next time when we step into another shadow, another haunted corner of America.